But why aren't people starting up more businesses? There's a direct correlation right now with burnout. And the top four things that are causing burnout are workloads. People are working and doing the job of 2 and 3 people. They're overworked because they're doing so many. You're being asked to do jobs that they really don't know how to do, but they got to take over them because there's nobody to do them. There is no control. There is no work-life balance. And when people are talking, they're working, and these are usually people working 50, in management, middle management, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. They have no autonomy over the work. They're being dictated what they have to do. You work here, I'm paying you by the hour. I need you to do this, this, this. I need you to do whatever. I need you to do 3 jobs. I don't care. And then, so they're doing the job of 3 people. They don't have any control over their work. They don't have any flexible time. My kid gets sick. I can't take off. I feel this torn between being at home with my child, taking my kid to the hospital. I mean, I sit here with owners, guys. I talk to owners, and I was having this conversation. Says, my office girl didn't come in today because her son was sick. And I says, what do you expect her to do? Yeah, but I need a doctor's note. Okay. Or the worst one is, here's the new one. One of my techs didn't show up to work today because his son was sick. Why? Because his wife couldn't stay home. It's like this idea that a woman's job is less important than a man's. What if she makes more money than him? Oh, she does. I says, why do you think he's staying home? Duh. I mean, some of you guys live in a bubble because your wife gets to stay home because you make $150,000, $200,000 a year. Your wife gets to stay home, not work, raise your kids, but you're not paying your people $150,000 a year. Let's be fair and equitable, guys. Plus, here's the other thing with women, and I'll defend women here. In my house, I live here by myself with my kids. I do my own cleaning, my own laundry. I clean my own. I'm going to get a cleaning lady now. I've done the cooking forever because I cook. My wife got home. My wife didn't have to work. She didn't have to do a damn thing, and she was still unhappy because unhappy people are unhappy no matter what they have. They're going to have a front seat in heaven, and they're going to be unhappy. This is why I post stuff about people being unhappy all the time. Unhappy people say unhappy things, are always unhappy. There's nothing you can do to help them. But a woman still has to come home for the most part after working 40 hours or 50 hours. She's still expected to clean the house, make dinner, while a guy might work 50 to 60 hours and he gets to come home and have a hobby. Things are changing. But predominantly, that's still it. So a lot of people live in this bubble where they don't understand the stressors at work. Why people want to quit their job is because they're overworked. We have COVID. It's like I have a old customer in the 80s. I need you to come over this week on a Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. Let me see. I got a doctor's appointment, and I need you to be here at 2:00 to give me an estimate. It says I don't have to go over there to give you an estimate. First of all, you're not going to get me to. I can give you an estimate right now over the phone. Yeah, but I want you to assess the situation. I said, you have German roaches. I don't need to assess the situation. I've been doing this for 15 years. On average, our program is designed to wipe it out in 3 shots. Most of the time, we wipe it out in 2. The third is a courtesy. And here's the price. Oh, my God. That's a lot of money. Do you think that driving across town in Miami to go spend an hour with you to give you an estimate for you to tell me that's a lot of money and not buy anything from me, that everybody's got the time because you're retired and you got nothing to do and you still think it's 1950? Dude, nobody ain't got time for that. I'm quoting. I'm automating my entire buying process. I'm reevaluating everything because we can't find people. It is a fact right now. Had to fire my call center. They weren't answering my calls because they took on a bunch of contracts When I asked the rep, it says, well, it isn't that we're short of people. Listen to this. It isn't that we're short of people that we can't find. It's that all of a sudden we took on all these contracts. You mean you took on contracts without having, because understand salespeople. Salespeople have to sell because they're on commission. The only thing a sales department and a sales manager cares about, and the only way they're compensated, is by doing sales. You can't ask them to do less sales and take home less money because you can't fulfill your contracts. That's HR's department. That's HR recruiting's problem. I'm going to continue to say, I've been in that situation where they told me you can't sell another thing until July because we're booked. I mean, we're booked till August and we're in the middle of June. And I've already filled their quota and they can't handle it. That's not my business. Hire a night staff. You can't hire a night staff. Shift work is the other thing that's messing people up because they're having to work these crazy shifts, the night shift. And it's messing them up. But you got no autonomy over their work. You have workloads that are unrealistic. And then you have a toxic work environment where bosses will allow people who are total assholes to work there and make everybody's life miserable and not fire them because you can't find people because you got to put up with them. And they're dealing with a toxic work environment. Those are the three things that people are quitting over right now. Money isn't it. The reason is the money doesn't compensate for these three. Why people want to start and why I'm dealing with this is because being fed up and starting and having what E-Myth calls an entrepreneurial seizure is not a reason. Yet here's what's happening. Here's the trend in the market. I'm following the trends. Why people aren't starting up. Here's why. We're going to get into this. This is going to be an insight for a lot of you guys who are saying, I put out an application, nobody fills one out, nobody comes into the office. You're wanting people to drive to your office. I'm still talking to guys who want people to drive to their office to fill out an employment application because they want to meet them in person before the person fills out an application. What year do you live in, dude? You need to have an online application. You need to be on Monster. You need to be on all the job sites. You need to be on Facebook if you're looking for an employee. Oh, but I don't want to do social media. I think people should come, and I think I should meet them, and this is why you're not getting anybody. Let me tell you what's happening. More than 90% of U.S. workers would consider freelancing or independent contract work. Right now, 9 out of 10 employees are thinking about doing independent contract work. The epidemic has done a lot of things, but one of the things is people realize they really didn't like working at home. A lot of people are working at home. It isn't working for them. They want to be back. Why? Because they want to be with their friends. They want to be back in an environment where they can talk in the water cooler and have those meetings in person. And there's for a reason why the Bible tells you don't stop congregating. And people have started congregating. And we got depression at an all-time high because people haven't seen anybody for a year and they're depressed. They're dealing with people who died in their family. They're burying people. They're dealing with their kids not being at home. The stress is at an all-time high for families. How do I know, dude? Look, I spent with my son at home while my mother was on hospice dying in front of me, while my son had to sit there, come home every day and watch grandma die. She went from weighing like 100 pounds to weighing 70 pounds in 30 days and dying before his eyes. On top of that, I'm separated from his mother. I'm getting a divorce. My employee quits, and I have to manage all this. And I still have to put a smile on my face, and I got to wake up every morning and say, I love you, son, and you're going to be okay, and everything is going to be fine, and having to all deal with all that. Him not going to school, not seeing his friends, having to switch schools in the middle of the year, not being able to go back to the school he wanted to. Can we just be human for a minute and stop making like the world revolves around us and have empathy and have compassion for people? You got to be flexible. You're going to have to learn to be flexible. 90%, listen to me, 62% of people desire to either be their own boss. 60% of independent gig workers consider their working conditions to be flexible. Here is why the gig environment, Uber, Lyft, all the, Amazon, all of the food delivery companies are being successful during this time because they consider that time to be flexible. This is going to shock you. I'm going to reveal a lot of stuff to you, what's happening, so that you can get a picture and understand why can't I hire people, why people aren't working. People are working. Believe it or not, the media is making everything to be what it is, and it is difficult. Don't get me wrong. I can't find people. But they consider that 62% consider their gig to have really flexible hours. 49% want the ability to choose their own projects. And that's why they rather do a gig job. They rather go to Fiverr. They rather sell their talent on Fiverr. They rather sell it for $5 to somebody else rather than to give it to you for $15 an hour. I want you to think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. 70% said the main reason people look for jobs in the gig market is to attain better work-life balance. 70% are looking for that work-life balance. Work-life balance isn't that I want to work 40-hour weeks or 50-hour weeks or 60-hour weeks. Work-life balance for me, I can easily do. I'm doing this right now. This research took a couple of hours. I'm researching videos. I'm still putting in 60 hours a week. I just don't feel it because I'm doing what I want with my time. 65% of respondents said that controlling their own career means freedom to choose when to work. Years ago, I used to work I was a sales. The reason I was in sales almost my whole life is sales was the closest thing that I could be to be an entrepreneur, not punch a time clock, not work 9 to 5, work the hours I wanted to, go wherever I wanted to. If I wanted to be home, I could be home. If I needed to do something, I could. If I needed to take time off to the doctor, I could. Because the only thing the company cared about was the numbers. As long as my numbers were there and I fulfilled the quota, they can kiss my butt. And I literally told them that. No, you need to be here at 7 a.m. I said, why? Show me why I need to be here. Because we all meet here at 7 a.m. And what do we do here at 7 a.m. except clock in? Nothing. You want me to be your sales guy? And that was my attitude. And you know what? When you make my life a living hell, I quit and went to work for somebody else. Because you know what? A salesman is never out of a job. How you feeling, babe? How you feeling? Good? She's having a headache. I was never out of a job as a salesman. I could quit today, a job, and I would have a work tomorrow. Because I had a track record. So I had freedom. I could work 60 hours that week, 70 hours, but I worked the hours I wanted to. I had flexibility. What people don't want is that I have to be there from 9 to 5. And when something happens, for me to take off is a mission. It's a mission. Because now everybody's short staffed. I got to tell my boss, listen, my son is sick. I got to take him to the doctor. You know what? I can't, my son can't participate in sports because I got to be there at 6 or 5. When my son had karate and he started out in karate, his karate was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. How many parents could put their kid in karate or gymnastics or anything? They can't. They got to work. Grandma. Well, guess what? My daughter doesn't have a grandma that can take him anywhere. I have to do it. So I could take off, run my route, do what I needed to do, take care of the customers, pick him up at 2:30 from school, go to karate, come home, make dinner, have dinner with them, do whatever, homework. And then when everybody's done, at 5 or 6, I can be jumping on my computer doing whatever it is I do, the schedule for the next day, do this or that. On Saturdays, I can work evenings, I can do whatever I want. I had the flexibility. What people are looking for is that flexibility. It says, I don't want to be in one place from 9 to 5. I don't want to answer any more phone calls from angry people because the company is crap and they give bad service and they can't hire. And I got to deal with all that stress of everybody being angry all the time at me. And I'm just the middle guy answering the calls. And this is what low-level workers are doing. You know, when that guy across the counter at the store, he's the only guy there, and the line is to the door, and he has to sit there and look at everybody complain and look at their clock and on their phone and complaining about how I was complaining the other day to my friend. I said, bro, I all morning I've been trying to get a coffee. I've been to 3 coffee shops. I can't get a coffee. I went to Panera Bread. There was one person behind the counter. She was serving people, helping the drive-through, and the line was to the door. And I said, I don't have time to wait here for 30 minutes to get a coffee. So I rolled down the street to Dunkin' Donuts. The power went out. The owner was there, Haji. I don't know where he was from. I'm just making fun of him. But he wasn't American. He owned the store. And he says, look, our system is down. Power's out. I can take cash. But I said, all I got is a 20, man. I'm not going to give you a 20. And he couldn't open the drawer. Why couldn't he take a credit card over the phone and have a backup system? So I waited, went to another store. By the time I could get a coffee, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I ordered another Dunkin' Donuts, and they're closed. Why were they closed? Because they close at 3 o'clock. They don't have any employees. Is it the employee's fault that the other 66% of people decided not to show up at work and him having to deal with that pressure? I remember working for a truck rental company when I was in my 20s, my teens, 20s, and I was the assistant manager. And they look out on Saturday morning and there weren't any trucks, and they look at the log and said, I got 10 reservations. All these people are going to be angry. They make us take the reservation. They force us to take the reservation, and they don't get us our trucks. And we have to sit there and explain to a family that's moving to California 2,000 miles why their truck, where they made a reservation a week ago, why their truck isn't there. And why we don't know when it's going to be there, and apologize. I literally had a guy threaten to walk across the counter and kick my ass one time, and I had to call the cops. Those are the situations as frontline employees that your people are in, and why they're fed up, and why they're looking to start up, and why you're making them your enemy. You don't feel you can change anything. This is the time. Those times are meant for like stressors for a short period of time. Per employee quits, it's going to be 2 weeks. Guys, help out, and everybody chips in for 2 to 3 weeks. When 2 to 3 weeks turns into 2 to 3 months, and 2 to 3 months is looking like 2 to 3 years, you're asking an awful lot from your staff to do this. I just finished giving my guy a raise. Officially, he is one of the highest paid techs in the industry in Miami. He wanted more autonomy because he goes to college. He's willing to put in more hours. So I said, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll put you on production. I'll pay you the highest production in Miami. You get to decide what days you work. Your standard route is there. You got to fill all of these appointments that you see. You're responsible for calling that client. So if you want to take off early on a Friday because your friend is coming in and you want to go out early, you can. But you are the one that has to call that client and explain to them why you can't be there. Now, mind you, we're only doing about between 6 and 11 stops a day, not the 15 to 20 that most people are under. This is why people in the industry don't want to be in the pest control industry. They get burned out after 1 to 3 years because they're working for large companies who the salespeople, all they do is sell because that's how they're incentivized. Technical instruction is zero. All the money is spent on marketing and sales, and technicians have no training, no support. You got a CSR on the phone telling customers, yes, 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 yes. And he's like, how do they expect us to do this? The CSR doesn't have a clue of what it's like to actually do a job in the field. And the CSR is telling the client every day the guy's going to be there and he's going to take care of the problem. The guy never got any training because he got 40 hours of shadowing, got thrown in a truck, and said, good luck. This is the situation that we find ourselves in. Why I raised my prices so high, to slow it down, so that allow my people to breathe, allow me to breathe, not lose the revenue. There's always a creative solution. I'm not a company you're going to come in and say within 6 years you're going to be into management. You're not going to be in management. If that's your expectation, keep looking, but it's not here. Not right now. We're not growing at that pace. I'm not going to grow at 100% a year. I've been consulting those clients, talking to them, those customers, talking to me about how their culture sucks. Owners. It's the reality, bro. So respondents controlling their own career, meaning freedom to choose when to work. Having those conversations on a daily basis. I got technicians texting me, messaging me from all over the country, all over the world. The problem is not an American problem. It's happening everywhere. Europe, Africa. I'm getting people calling me from everywhere. Eric, my producer who produces my videos, he's under contract with a school where he does the teaching. They said that this year they wanted to cancel the online because the problem is their financial aid, according to the government, these are students are coming here with visas to study, and online studying isn't in the visa program, and therefore they have to attend so many hours of physical class in order to get their student loans and get financial aid and maintain their visas to stay here. A lot of these guys are paying for their own to the tune of $600 a month to go to school there. And he says, if they force me to go back to class, I'm not going back. I'm going to do my own thing. He's already started doing his own thing, teaching his own students, starting his own side business while he's working 30-something hours for them, while he's working 16 to 20 hours for me. He's putting in another 20 hours. So he's putting in about 60 hours a week right now, just to make ends meet, the way he puts it. 56% said it's freedom to choose how hard to work. You're going to be shocked that it isn't the hours. People are saying people don't want to work these days. They don't want to work in the traditional sense. They don't want the traditional 9 to 5. They don't want to be with a headset for 8 hours a day answering calls from people who are angry all the time. Do you realize what that does to a person's psyche? When they go home and they're like, I don't want to hear another complaint out of you. They don't want to hear from their families. They just want to crash and veg after that. And you know how I know? Because I've been in a call center. I've taken those calls. I used to take calls as a sales rep for some of these people when people were belligerent and calm the customer down. And I wasn't even their manager because I felt so bad for this. Go ahead. I was hearing the call from across my cubicle, and I said, send that customer to me. I'll take care of that for you. That wasn't even my job. 48% of respondents favor freelancing because of the autonomy in managing career development. They're freelancing their work. This is why they rather work for you for 40 hours, go home, and jump on Fiverr and give their work away for $5. You know what is funny? Because it's the same thing that I talked to a lot of owners who are now owners, who used to be employees, and said, well, I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for you to make you rich. You know what it's like when you're asking for a raise And the boss says I can't afford it. At the same time, he's building a $1 million house, showing up in a brand new Land Rover, living a life that, and you're asking for $1 an hour raise. What that does to your morale. Don't think for 1 minute that I don't understand it. 31% said they have chosen this type of working relationship simply because they don't like reporting to others. Because management sucks. 78%, over 50% of companies are working for owners that don't know how to manage, don't know how to lead, don't know how to encourage, don't know how to incentivize, and don't know how to reward. That's what working for a small business is like. Why I'd rather go work on Fiverr, rather go work Upstart, rather go work at delivering groceries for half the money and not go work in a toxic environment for a bad boss that doesn't understand me and doesn't know how to deal with a Gen Zer. That's the reality. How do we do? Let me show you this. On average, gig workers make 58% less than in full-time employees. That I've been married for 2 years. Was going to college full-time, but I worked 50 hours a week, plus going to college. Now, I was making at that time $1,800 a month. I was working 5 and 6 days a week, and sometimes 7. Because if a computer went down on a Sunday afternoon, I was the only IT tech. They went from a merger, merging 2 offices, and getting rid of one of those techs, giving me twice the work, with only a 30% increase in pay, and I was on call the whole time. She finally said, I'm tired. I never get to see you. I said, okay, I'm going to quit. I went to go work for $9 an hour as an admin in a computer store for 4 salespeople. And I went from having a lot of money available to go out. Now she had me at home all the time, Monday through Friday. I worked from 9 to 5. I got to work make $9 an hour at that time. I wasn't finished with college. Now she had me all to herself. And then I'm bored at home. Yeah, because you got used to going out to dinner and going clubbing and going partying. And now that's no longer available. See, the problem is you can't have it both ways, folks. You either have the time in your money-making years, in your early years, and this is why a lot of guys, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have a family. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want all that. And you're like, why isn't he married? He's 25. Why isn't he having kids? They saw everything we went through. Thank God my kids never saw that. I didn't have young kids at a young age. Now I have them older. Now I have to work out. Now I have to go do cardio. I started doing running again because my knee got messed up. And for 2 months, I couldn't run. I couldn't do exercise. I couldn't do anything. They're doing. They're just not doing what's traditional. Sure, there's a lot of people. It's easy to get into a gig job and to test different things out to see what they might like. Okay, so I did study a little graphic design, and I can do a couple of little logos for people and make $5 and then upsell to 15 or whatever. And if I don't want to work there, look, I used to hire Venezuelan doctors to write my entomology blog for me, to digest the information and write stuff for me, and I used to pay them $8 in Venezuela. Why? Because they speak English, they read English. But $8 when you were making $200 a month is a lot of money, $8 US. When I read the book, 4-Hour Work Week, things snapped in my head and I said, oh yeah, I don't have to hire guys here in America at $20 a page. I can hire them in Venezuela for $8 a page. That's business. That's life. You got to get started doing, do the research, have the dream, have the desire, start doing, start doing. But for a lot of people, the risk, this is why I'm rethinking what I'm doing. The franchise thing, which I studied to death and I understand it. I have people who, my ex boss was the director of franchising, taught me more about markets and marketing in markets and understanding markets. Because he used to be the vice president of franchising for Western Auto. I've said at one point, Frank, I was in a different hotel every night for 265 days a year. I had to open up a map and find out where the hell I was that day because I had no idea where I woke up that morning. Building one store a week to building one store a day sometimes. So I'm rethinking the model. I'm thinking, what if I could pay you a production commission, put signs on your car, let you do, I can do roach service right now from an IPM bag with a $300 investment, $200 investment in signs, and say, you know what, I will sell all of the roach services I want. You get them done because we do 30% of our business roach service. Have a maintenance route that's fully equipped to handle every other problem. And these roach shops, you want to do work at 6 o'clock because the customer doesn't get home till 6, and you want to work from 6 to 8 every day, and that's it, and take the rest. I'll pay you 35% production. I'll reimburse you for using your vehicle. We'll work on a bonus structure based on KPIs. You can choose to reinvest back into the customer and buy your own truck and try it to see if it works for you. See if you like pest control. See if you like this industry without me making a huge investment. Oh, but we need vehicles. I know when somebody says, well, you can't have vehicles running around town with all different colors, and says, why not? Uber does it. See, we're getting past things in our head that are limiting us. This is the only person that cares about that is you. The car says, do you think the customer cares that it's a blue Honda versus a white Honda? The customer doesn't even see the vehicle 90% of the time. You're in an apartment building. He sees you show up with an IPM bag. He could care less what vehicle you showed up as long as you take care of that roach problem. We have vehicle tracking devices, GPS on the phone, GPS on the vehicle. We can know if you're stealing. We have hire people with high integrity. Can you imagine having more women in the workplace in this industry? By being able to say, yeah, you know what? Start whenever you want. Just tell me what hours you want to work that week. I'll book everything around you. Our CSRs, they know how to book around you. They're experts. They're experts at telling that client, nope, we only have a spot between 6 and 8. That's the only spot we have left. We only have a spot between 2 and 3. Why? We do it now. Can't have it when you want it. I want an appointment for Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We only have 3 vehicles. Can't be there at 8 o'clock. Tell that to Comcast. Tell that to any other service company that says, tell that to the air conditioning guy. It doesn't exist. Why couldn't you hire somebody to work part-time, paying them 35%, paying them more than they would work at Uber, at Lyft, at Instacart, at Amazon? Set their own schedule. Look at a screen and say, I've got 3 techs available. Hey, can you handle the job tomorrow at 3 o'clock? Yeah, sure. They're on. I would love to. And they make 35% production, lower my overhead, have 15 vehicles running around town with marketing, showing off my name. Why wouldn't I look at a model like that to grow my business? Gives them the hours they want, gives them autonomy over their work, gives them the flexibility. Why wouldn't I start a route of saying, okay, I need to produce no less than 200,000 a year from you. Pick your days, pick your time. As long as you're producing 200,000 a year from me, I could care less. As long as your callbacks aren't above this, as long as you're where you're supposed to be, as long as you sign in, the GPS on the phone and the GPS on the vehicle match, as long as you don't do side work, because if you do side work, I fire you. I just had a call from a guy saying, "Hey Frank, what do you think about this? I'm in a moral predicament." On Saturday, I went to a friend's house who had a mice problem. He bought all the exclusion material and everything, and I went and helped him out because he was having a mice problem in an apartment. This is in New York City. And I said, and I wasn't going to charge him because he's my friend, but he gave me $150. What do you think about doing side jobs? My company doesn't do this. I said, well, it would depend on the law. What does the law say in your state about you doing that? And about doing moonlighting. Florida says, no, it's got to be W-2 employee. As long as you're not using their vehicle, their equipment, their materials, you're doing something that they don't do. It's not in direct competition. I don't see a problem. But, that's an ethical question, and that's also a legal question. I can't answer it. I can only tell you what the law says here. You can't do side business. And that's a risk we take in this business, people doing side work. Remove the incentive for people to do side work. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you a 25% commission on everything you sell for a year. Go do the work for another 25%, but that's 50%. Would you rather lose 100% of it than having them do side work and then having to deal with all that? Remove the incentive. Let them work when they want to work, how they want to work. That can't work. I said, people are not unreasonable. The guy's not saying I want to work 15-hour weeks. The woman is not saying I want to work. I just want to be there. I don't want to work from 2:30 in the afternoon till 4 o'clock because I got to pick up my daughter from school, but I can start at 8. I can work at 6 o'clock at night. Why couldn't it work? Why does it have to be from 7 to 4? Why does it have to be from 9 to 5? Can't do it for everybody. Why couldn't I hire phone people that says, hey, I want to work Monday through Friday from 9? You know why? Because it requires you to be a manager. It requires you to do some juggling. It requires you. But guess what? If it's heading this way and you're going to have to do it anyway, why don't you just embrace it? Instead of resisting and saying, I wish things would be back to the way it was. We don't sell buggy whips anymore. We're never going to sell buggy whips except for collectibles. I'm just saying, if you want to get things done, you got to start doing. You might have to start doing things differently. You got to think outside the box. It might be, hey, work Monday through Friday for 36 hours and take Fridays off. And you got every Friday off to go schedule that doctor's appointment. It may be 40-hour work week. The guy might want to work and say, I want Tuesdays off. I don't want any work on Tuesdays. I'll work every other day and I want Friday and Saturday off. Why not? The reason people don't get things done a lot of the times is because they're inflexible. I'm just not married to any idea. I'm not married to anything. It's what does it take to get it done? Let's get it done. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a spectacular day.